Hello everyone, good day, especially to you sir. Importantly, this is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material. We, the group 1, would like to share the topic we're about to discuss, the topic about Asian regionalism. So first, I would like to introduce myself. I am Ingen Cadet Las Marias with my co-members, Ingen Cadet Aligway, Ingen Cadet Idon, Ingen Cadet Isgana, Ingen Cadet Australianes, Ingen Cadet Sumalinog, Ingen Cadet Tano, and lastly, Ingen Cadet Tumada. So here are objectives. First is to differentiate between regionalization and globalization. Then, identify the factors leading to a greater integration of the Asian region. Then, to analyze how different Asian states confront the challenges of globalization and regionalization. So, the questions are here. What is Asian regionalism? Why there is an Asian regionalism, and what are the examples of regionalism? The other is what are the advantages and disadvantages of regionalism? Then what are the factors of regionalism? Then the next one is what is the new regionalism? And also we have the how does regionalization affect globalization, and what is regionalism in the Philippines? And lastly, what is the difference of regionalism and globalization? So that's the objectives. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Eugene Cadet Aligway, and now I will discuss to you about what is Asian regionalism and why there is an Asian regionalism. So before we talk about what is Asian regionalism, I will discuss to you some terms first, so that later when we go to our main topic, which is Asian regionalism, you will understand what I am talking about and understand clearly the discussion. So, what is the Asian regionalism? So, Asian regionalism seeks to achieve legitimacy for definitions of boundaries and to obtain approval for this definition in cultural and political and popular and official understandings. So, it is a political ideology that favors a specific region over a greater area. So it is the expression of common sense of identity and purpose combined with the creation and implementation of institutions. Meaning to say, most people possess on regions since they are smaller compared to larger areas. Because of this, regionalism usually results to political separation, religious geography, cultural boundaries, linguistic regions, and management divisions. So what is regionalization? Regionalization is a division of a nation into states or provinces. In the economic context, regionalization is a management tool. It is the process of dividing an area into smaller segments called regions. So what are regions? So regions are a group of countries located in the same geographically specified area. So example, the Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Philippines, and Malaysia, and also Japan and China are located within the geographical area of Asia, which is Asia is also a region and the largest and most diverse continent in the world. So among Asia, the 8 official recognized regions of the world are Africa, Caribbean, Central America, Europe, North America, Oceania, and South America. So, but now we will just talk about the Asian regionalism. So, What is Asian regionalism? So Asian regionalism is the product of economic between Asian countries. So you have to take note that it is not on political planning, but rather it's an economic interaction between Asian countries. So when we say Asian countries, we are referring to the countries from Asia like Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Philippines, Malaysia, Japan, and China. So as a result of successful outward-oriented growth strategies of Asian countries, Asian economies have grown not only richer but also closer together. So it means that there is a unity in diversity, meaning there are unity of kanang differences of kuan between countries. So example is the ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So why is Asia considered as the most diverse continent of the world? So because people in Asia have different cultures, different customs and traditions, different practices and beliefs, different governments, and many more. So as Asia's economies have grown larger and more complex, they also have become more integrated. So in ways like trade, financial flows, direct investment, other forms of economic and social exchange. So in the early stages of Asia economic takeoff, regional integration proceeded slowly. Asia's economies focused on exporting to developed country markets. So they just focus on exporting of their goods and services rather than selling to each other. Initially, they specialized on simple labor-intensive manufacturers. So why there is an Asian regionalism? So it is to form regional organization as a way of coping with the challenges of globalization. It is primarily motivated by the desire to advance welfare in the region. It would not do so by detracting from development elsewhere. So on the contrary, Asian regionalism can help to sustain global economic progress at a time when other major regions are reaching economic maturity. So there are some benefits of Asian regionalism in Asian countries. So example of this is there are more and better jobs. So with the progressive dynamic between Asian region, with easier and cheaper travel options, goods, and services. So it only makes sense that it comes with the extended bonus of better employment or opportunities. So take note that the continent makes up 1/3 of global GDP, meaning the Asian continent. So the other benefit of kanang Asian regionalism is about the economic crisis. So example, the ASEAN along with China, Japan, and South Korea, they established an emergency fund that stabilized Asian economies after rippling effect of Thai economy collapse. Then in the resources, countries from regional associations, because of resources, countries in Asia needs to pull their resources together. To them sounds more powerful. So the organization of the organization of the petroleum exporting countries rose in power. So when they took the domestic production and controlled all prices across the globe. So next is the regional integration. So it is a process in which neighboring states enter into an agreement in order to upgrade cooperation through common institutions and rules. So basically, in regional integration, so it is a process by which two or more countries agrees and cooperate to work closely together to achieve peace, stability, and wealth. So objectives of the agreement could range from economic to political to environmental, although it has typically taken the form of a political economy initiative. So in this part, commercial interests are the focus for achieving broader socio-political and security objectives. So regional integration has been organized either via supranational institutional structures, through intergovernmental decisions making, or a combination of both. So how do we define institutional? So it is an administrative structure that goes beyond the boundaries of states. So it is a multinational union or association in which members countries cede authority or sovereignty, or simply means by they surrender their power in sovereignty, at least some internal matters to the group whose decisions are binding on its members. So on the other hand, when we say intergovernmental or intergovernmentalism, it refers to arrangement whereby the nations or the countries in any situations and conditions they can control, they can make decision, they can cooperate with one another, so on matters of common interest. So regional integration has often focused on removing barriers to free trade. So free trade meaning removing taxes, and in the region, so increasing free movement of people, labor, goods, and capital across national borders, reducing the possibility of regional armed conflict, and adopting cohesive regional stances on policy issues such as environmental, climate change, and migration. So these are the actions done by the regional integration. So other advantage of Kwan, so that's why there is a Asian regionalism, is because of the intra-regional trade. So refers to trade which focuses on the economic exchange primarily between countries of the same region or economic zone. So basically there is trade na ipalitan sa kalakalan between countries of the same region. So example is the Southeast Asia. So if there is trading or kalakalan between these nations, therefore there is inter-regional trade. So in recent years, countries within economic trade regimes such as Asian in Southeast Asia, so example, have increased the level of trade and commodity exchange between themselves, with reduces inflations and staff barriers associated with foreign markets, resulting in growing prosperity. So the ASEAN Association, so it is a regional grouping that promotes economic, political, so that's all. Thank you.
Good day, I am Engine Cadet Kinar Zalde Marbet Etano, and I am about to discuss what is an example of regionalism. So regionalism is the development of political, economic, or social system based on loyalty to a distinct geographic region with a largely ideologically and culturally homogeneous population. Regionalism often leads to formally agreed to arrangement between groups of countries intended to express a common sense of identity while achieving common goals and improving quality of life. Regionalism is the political focus on one specific area of a country. In the US, the perceived difference between Southerners and New Englanders is one example of regionalism. So the term regionalism has many different meanings, depending whether you are talking about economic, international relations, local politics, or even language. It also always has something to do with relatively small or homogeneous or geographical area or region. Calling Coca-Cola or pop or soda is a linguistic regionalism, language specific to a place, and focusing on worlds or Western countries is also kind of regionalism, being loyal to one region and its interest is yet another type of regionalism. That's all.
So, good day everyone. I'm Engine Cadet Christian Sumaninog, and my assigned topic is what are the advantages and disadvantages of regionalism. So, let's start. Advantages. So first, we have the solves large and complex issues. So some issues are too large for any one unit of government to tackle alone. So regionalism helps solve large problems and complex issues. Examples of our complex issues include climate change, world poverty, the financial crisis, child abuse, terrorism, and drug abuse. The next one, we have the improves quality of life. So regions, transportation, economy, housing, workforce, and social activity transcend country lines. Today, more than half of our region's population lives and works in efficient countries. So regionalism offers a coordinated solution that waves these systems and geographic areas together. This ultimately connects individuals to more housing, transportation, and education options, greater job opportunities, and improved social centers. The third one is improves efficiency and effectiveness. So regionalism encourages local governments to pool resources, talents, and efforts. Collaborating in this way creates more effective planning that all governments, both big and small, can participate in it. It also creates a larger budget to deliver stronger results. This in turn allows local government to deliver services and address needs more efficient within their communities. So the third one helps the growth of region. So regional integration helps countries overcome the division that impede the flow of goods, services, capital, people, and ideas. So these divisions are constrained to economic growth, especially in developing countries. So regional integration can lead to substantial economic gains. Regional integration allows countries to improve market efficiency, share the cost of public goods or large infrastructure project, decide policy or cooperatively, and have an anchor to reform, having a building block for global integration, then reap the non-economic benefits such as peace and security. Then exercise leadership. To represent the interests of the region, having a good leadership should be exercised, like creating program activities, program capacity and strategic focus in a place to make positive outcomes a reality. And the service and who to deliver them make journey towards progress rewarding for the region's partner and local government members. Then now let's go to the disadvantages. So disadvantages of regionalism, these are the following. Identity crisis. So the drawback to regionalism must voice address a community fear of losing its unique identity, its sense of place, sense of community, and it was said by Margaret Fairbairn Bristol 10. So according to Bristol Chamber of Commerce President, he said that there is an innate fear for some that regionalism means our own community identity and interests will no longer matter. The second one is financial setbacks. So financial setbacks can severely shake confidence in the financial and economic system. It affects the economy in the region through reduced the capital flows, namely a decline in investment, a decline in domestic production and exports, and a decline in remittances. So for example, regional integration, which countries may have different preferences, priorities depending on their connectivity, gaps, economic geography, preferences for sovereignty in specific areas. So regional integration's impact on entrapment, investment flows, allocation of economic activity, growth, income distribution are often difficult to assess. Lack of adequate complementary policies and institutions may lead to inefficient outcomes. For instance, policy barriers at the border may offset the gains transport infrastructure cooperation. Next one is high economic and environmental risk. Although Asia has engaged in a process of environmental regionalization, Until now, it is primarily addressed cross-border pollution problem and on ad hoc basis. Asia approach to environmental regionalism, which relies on involuntary cooperation, non-binding agreements, and a weak institutional infrastructure, reflects the political economy and regions and individual Asian countries. Regional trade and investment patterns upon dominance of developing countries in the region, serious concerns about conceding sovereignty over environmental issues, lack of effective domestic political demand for strong environmental policy, and the absence of demands for upward harmonization environmental standards by Japan or Singapore are the key factors affecting the development of environmental regionalism in Asia. The primary driver of Asian regionalism has been very severe transitory air pollution, especially haze from forest burning and acid rain.
I would like to introduce myself. I am Engine Cadet Isgana. I will be reporting what are the factors of regionalism. It refers to affinity of people to their specific area or region, which has its own government, different customs, and religious practices. It is based on the diversity of languages, culture, tribes, and religions. It is encouraged by the geographical concentration of these identity markets in particular region and fueled by a sense of regional deprivation. It depends also on the historical formation or administration of a region. So, they say that there are many factors of regionalism, but there are some factors of regionalism that I would like to share to you. First is trade. The world economy is intertwined with each other whether we like it or not. We all want or need something from another part of the world, including global trade facilities. These nations can readily supply each other's needs. So that's trade. Second is similar culture. The culture of Asia are diverse, but they do share many things. This makes it easier fit during times of negotiations. So that's similar culture. Third is common goals. The Asian region recognizes the mutual benefit of a slow integration, and that is to accelerate the economic growth, social progress, and cultural development, and to promote peace. So, my example is that regionalism is a factor that is embedded in India's diversity factors of location, practices, or cultural tribes that follow a specific religion for belonging to a community or group of people and follow their practices. This factor is appreciated by geographical condition of any specific identity or this community in India is a nation distinctive types of regional differences that exist together. The factors of regionalism was soon accepted by India after the period of independence. So regionalism is a base many factor, especially in a country like India, where there is a huge diversity of religion and the basis of given. So first is a religion may be followed because one belongs to a community or tribe. So second, a religion may be believed upon because of geographical condition. So third is one may follow a religion because of the mix of the religion. And fourth, India soon started the following huge diversity of a religion after independence. And fifth is India had also been accommodating regionalism sentiments.
I'm Engine Cadet Jerome Estranis, and now I'm going to discuss about what is new regionalism. So, new regionalism is shaped a national system of administrations and cultural and economic and political organizations. New Regionals project, which began about May 1980, differed in the substance from the earlier rise and regionalist development which had begun about 1950 and later became known by the term of old regionalism. The emergence of the new regionalism coincided with the end of the Cold War and the period of the increasing global economic integration. Its development ultimately led to regional organizations that were more open with respect to trade than those that had formed in the era of the old regionalism. With regards to the global economy, the old form of regionalism tended toward the protectionist economic blocs, where the trade between members and countries was encouraged, but trade with countries outside the bloc was discouraged by external trade barriers. In contrast, the new regionalism was more open, permitting trade with countries from the outside distinct regions. In this context, argue that this open form regionalism industry exposure to global competitions and, together with means of encouragement, the necessary incentives to compete in the global market. New regionalism, which turned to participated in shaping globalization. The forces of globalization have had impact on restructuring of the social, political, and economic aspect regions, while the state and societies have adjusted to impact by the furthering, changing, or revising the effect of globalization through the process of regionalism.
Good day, everyone, and especially to you, sir. Good day. I am Engine Cadet Las Marias, and as per the continuation of the report, I would like to share with you the insights of how does regionalization affects globalization. So first things first, how do regionalization and globalization relate to each other? So there are three possible options regarding the mutual relations between regionalization and globalization, especially in the economic dimensions. So first, regionalization as a component of globalization, or we can call it the convergent trends. Then the second one is regionalization as a challenge or response to globalization, or the divergent trends. Then the third one is regionalization and globalization as parallel processes or the overlapping trends. So first, regionalization as a component of globalization. Regionalism is emerging today as a potent force in the processes of globalization. And if globalization is regarded as the compression of the temporal and spatial aspects of social relations, then regionalism may be understood as but one component or chapter of globalization. Then the second one is the regionalization as a challenge or response to globalization. Is regionalism a means towards something else other than globalization? Or can regionalism lead to a more pluralistic world order, populated by diverse and distinct patterns of socio-economic organizations that are accountable to their populations? So these reactions can be motivated by either nationalistic, mercantilistic, or pluralistic, humanistic. So the third one is the regionalization and globalization as a parallel processes. So when we refer to the world economy, it encompasses the trends of both regionalization. In the international or the global security arena, it is more difficult to assess the coexistence of security communities and security complexes without an overall dimension of global securities, which is less evident. Thus, rather than reacting to each other, A third possibility is that regionalization and globalization might act as a parallel or overlapping processes in the two issued areas of economics and securities. So as for continuation, we have the effects of regionalization to globalization. So we have the provincial improvements, we have the growth of domestic products, we have the organized trading systems, and as for other facts, we have the opportunities, we have the MSME flourish, or we can call it the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So micro, small, medium enterprises makes a vital contribution to economic growth and development. They represent a seabed of entrepreneurial skills and innovation, contribute to job creation, and are considered the backbone of the global economy. So the next is the preservation of culture and traditions. We have the increase in profit. We have the demand for high quality in life. And another is the challenges. We have the monopolized system, can't afford or can offer aid to another, and less support from national government, and lastly is the least promotion of culture. So that's the facts of regionalization to globalization.
So, I am Engine Cadet Idon, and today I am going to tackle about the regionalism of the Philippines. The Philippines regionalism can be traced back to its history and geography. Water separates the Philippines from the rest of Asia. There are roughly 7,000 islands and islets in this archipelago. The Philippines population is 76.5 million people according to the Philippines National Statistics Office on 2000. Over half of the population, 58%, lives in the cities. And the Malay people make up the majority of the population. Christians Malay account for 91.5% of Filipinos today, whereas Muslim Malays make up barely 4% of the population, according to 1998 World Factbook of CIA. And the Philippines is completely surrounded by ocean and has a total land area of 307,800 square meters and 115,600 square meters miles, and because of its geographical isolation from the rest of Asia, the Philippines has characteristics that set it apart from its Asian neighbors. It is Asia's only Christian country and a major democratic power. Nels Mulder on 1997, who spent 10 years in the Philippines, believes that the Philippines' lack of cultural autonomy and historical depth, to which he has become accustomed in other Asian countries. And the Philippines may be distinct from its Asian neighbors due to its geographical isolation and colonial past. And that's all.
Hello everyone, I am Renhol J. Tumada and I am here to report about the difference of regionalism and globalization. So first of all, to allow an easier understanding between the difference of the two, let us first talk about globalization. So globalization is the word used to describe the growing interdependence of the world's economies, culture, and population, brought about by cross-border trade in goods and service, technology, and flow of investment. Globalization changes the way nations, business, and people interact. Specifically, it changes the nature of economic activity among nations, expanding trade, opening global supply chains, and providing access to natural resources and labor markets. So, based on that definition, we all know that globalization is a process of growth in the economy, technology, culture of a specific country in a global scale. Globalization allows and encourages people to understand and accept the difference in culture in foreign countries. It also aims to establish a steady growth in the global market in order to increase the rate of sales in better products with an affordable price. Not only that, it is through globalization that one place is able to develop in a very rapid way compared to other means of developing a country. Globalization allows us to venture forth beyond borders and look towards the new things of the other countries. And that is what makes globalization very influential in the country's growth. So now that we're done talking about globalization, let's continue to regionalism. So first, regionalism is the practice of coordination, social, economic, or political activities within a geographical region comprising of a number of states. They focus on text to concentrate heavy on specific unique features of a certain region, including dialect, customs, tradition, topography, history, and characters. It also focuses on the formal and the informal, analyzing the attitude characters have towards one country and their community as a whole. It seeks to achieve legitimacy for definition of boundaries and to obtain approval for this definition in cultural and political and popular and official understanding. So based on that definition, we can assume that regionalism is similar to globalization. Their main difference is in the scale that they operate in. In globalization, it operates in a global scale, meaning it is more vast and more influential. However, when it comes to regionalism, it favors a specific region over a greater area. And within that region, they are able to expand their influence and share their products and culture. But remember, within only that region. In globalization, the process of growth is very fast, and that is probably because of the scale that it operates in. It has more interaction with foreign countries and also promotes cultural sharing in a global scale, while in regionalism, once again, it focuses in a regional trade, meaning again within the region, because it promotes domestic and local products. It also has less interaction with foreign countries, and because of that, culture takes a long time to change or influence or be influenced. And that is all.